So you've jumped into Destiny 2 Final Shape, completed the campaign, and unlocked the enormous Paleheart world. And now you see this web-like interface. This is the Pathfinder system that debuted in the new Final Shape expansion from Bungie. In today's episode, we discuss what it is, how has it improved or hurt our daily engagement in the Final Shape, and then maybe give some tips and tricks on how to efficiently use this new system by Bungie. I've invited a good friend of our Destiny Help Desk, Guardian Downcast community, to help further explain and discuss this new system. So let's roll. Have you ever wanted to jump into Destiny 2, but don't know where to start? Or maybe you're a current Destiny 2 Guardian, but are hesitant to jump into a dungeon, raid, or play Gambit, Strikes, or Crucible. And for you established Guardians out there, maybe you ask yourself, I want to try something new in the game, but I'm hesitant due to the sharp learning curve or just need a roadmap. This is the Destiny Help Desk podcast, where myself and good friends of mine dive deep into the various topics of the game Destiny 2 and give you some great advice in whatever aspect of the game you want to improve. I'm your host, Todd the Gator, with a combined 9,000 hours of game time in Destiny and Destiny 2. So yeah, you could say I'm a true fan of the game. And I invite you to also check out my YouTube channel, where there's a playlist of new and returning Guardian help videos available to guide you on your way. You can follow me on Twitter X at Todd the Gator, and if you haven't already, join our Discord community at discord.gg/Guardian Downcast. That's my other podcast, where I hear the stories of our Destiny Guardians and share the latest news about the game. So without further ado, on with the show. He's a community moderator, a previous Guardian Downcast roundtabler, and you might want to be careful around him as he's no stranger to grappling you to the ground as a Brazilian jiu-jitsu enthusiast. He's an avid player of the Destiny 2 realm and a good friend. Please welcome RoninRedLion. RoninRedLion, thank you, sir, for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we've kind of been talking about this topic in the background, and we finally are able to get together here and discuss this new Pathfinder system. But before we get to that, how you been lately, man? How's life treating you?
Oh, it's been good. I mean, it's summer, so, in Texas, it's hot. That's about the only way to really describe it. But yeah, I've been diving right into the new expansion, playing, mostly in the Paleheart. A lot of the other activities have kind of fallen by the wayside because there's just so much to do in there. Definitely played through the campaign first to get the story, and, now I'm just kind of picking up all the little extra quests, hunting for exotics and seeing just what all the little secrets are that they've hidden throughout the new area.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I'm right there with you. I have not even played any of the activities, any of the Crucible, Strikes, or I've heard a lot of people are playing even Gambit. So I've had no time to do it. I've just had a grandchild, so been a little busy. But you have played it, and we're going to talk about that tonight because I've played a lot of the Pathfinder and the Paleheart, and you've done a lot of Pathfinder and the activities, the weekly activities, so it'll be perfect. So how was your first week experience with Final Shape?
Well, like most players, I dove into the campaign first. I did that, did the whole thing on Legendary, mostly to get the bump up to 1960 power.
Oh, you did solo. Perfect.
I did it mostly solo. I had to phone a friend on the last mission. That one was tough.
Iconoclasm is tough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then got through the campaign in time before the raid race started. Followed that a little bit, and then once that was cleared, it opened up the final chapter for everybody to play. So got to experience that too. And
yeah, what did you think of Excision, the 12-man activity after the raid race was over with?
I think that is an awesome kind of like cherry on top for everybody that's been playing Destiny this whole time. It gave every player a chance to have a stake in the end of this saga, to see it through to beating the final boss and, getting to see the story. The cutscenes have been top notch, and the final one is something that everyone should see for themselves. So yeah, it's been great. I mean, all the accolades the game is getting, it has earned them.
How about that last cutscene? Did you, was your wife cutting onions too that day?
Maybe a couple times. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all right. We don't have to admit that. Yeah, it was really, truly, really the best way. I think it's really the only way Bungie could have ended the Light and Dark saga, you know? But, I think that was the best way they could have handled it. I was worried how Bungie was going to be able to tie the knot in this, you know, and finish this story out, which finally they did. So anything else on the final shape, your overall experience of the game so far? Just generally speaking. Let me ask you this. Were there things you loved or hated about the Final Shape expansion?
Yes. Well, at first it was overwhelming. You'd be going from one place to another and suddenly, hey, there's a crystal to shoot, or hey, here's a treasure chest, but it tells me to go find these beams of light, or, it seemed like distractions right and left because it's packed with content. And, as you play through and start to, zero in on like, hey, I need to stick to this campaign mission, or, I really need to follow up on this one particular task, like a step in a quest or something. You learn to filter that out and kind of come back to it when it's time to do that. And what I found out is a lot of those activities are just, objectives in overthrow, but they're like mini games within the game, and you never know what they're going to lead to. If it might be something, something small, or another, start another exotic quest.
Yeah, I've nicknamed it the solo playground, because it's so much. I mean, it just keeps you busy. I mean, you have one area where you'll be finishing up a little mini game, and then all of a sudden there's something else going on just like 40 yards away. It's crazy.
What kind of helped make it all make sense to me is play through the campaign, ignore everything else.
Yeah.
Then, there's follow-up missions that come in from, after you complete the campaign, you meet Micah 10. And I would go through all of the missions from Micah 10 as well. Just, there might be a couple quests in between, for exotics, like that exotic solar sniper rifle, the golden gun one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the Micah quests, because they all play in directly to the story, and they get you exposure to all the other activities too, a little bit. So like you'll have a Micah 10 quest that says, go here, do this, find something in this area, and then it says, okay, now go do overthrow in this other area. And so you start to learn how all these pieces fit together, but if you stick to the path, then it doesn't distract you, and you start, chasing this treasure chest or this, this enemy that runs away from you until you shoot a crystal and its force field goes down or whatever. Again, all the distractions, they have a place, and it's a matter of finding how it all like should fit together and what you should do first. So, the game it's good about telling you, hey, do this stuff first, because you've got a quest in your quest tab that says, here's the step that you should be working on. And if you can just avoid the distractions and come back to them when it's time to, then the game makes a lot more sense. And it was like that with the Dreaming City as well, back when Forsaken dropped. That was a huge map with a lot of secrets. I mean, all the extra little treasure chests you could find, and one thing that was nice about this particular campaign in Final Shape is it took you through the lost sectors as well. So it introduces you to the whole map. As the campaign plays on, you move just from the left side of the map to the right side of the map, opening up new areas, and getting familiar enough with how they all connect together. But shortly after I'd finished the campaign, I was playing in a group with another player, and he had unlocked all the fast travel points, so he was able to go further down the map. I couldn't find a way to get to him.
Yeah.
Because, you need to know, okay, go through this tunnel, get to this spot. And then I finally learned how the pieces of the map even connect together by doing some of the cyst quests where you follow the little hawk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so now I feel like I'm real familiar with the area, but, at first, it's like, oh, where am I? What am I doing? Do I need to do this? Is this going to lead to something good? Or is this just part of, like a name escapes me right now.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Public event.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, they mentioned that you have to do the still hunt. That's the sniper rifle you were talking about earlier, the exotic one. It's like a golden gun. The still hunt, and I think it was called the, I want to say the wild one, but it's not. It's called wild card. You have to run the wild card mission. Then what happens is you have to run a few of these transgression missions. You have at least start them, I think, from what I heard, and then it opens up all the nodes on the map. And then the cyst, I did all the cyst, and it was a lot to do. It's a lot to do, and the fights were very challenging for a solo player. But you have to do all that to get the exotic Kvostov stuff done. So, which could be another topic entirely because there's so much to do in the Paleheart. But anything that aggravated you or maybe frustrated you that you didn't like about the Final Shape expansion?
Some of the difficulty tuning that they put into effect, like I think the recent This Week in Destiny talked about them backing off on like the surges that they put into effect.
Right.
You know, we tried the raid the weekend after it had been completed, and we spent 5 hours unable to finish even the first encounter. And you know, maybe we would have done better if we'd known how all these like surge mechanics played in, but those weren't really obvious. And, you know, I think it was kind of building on the Pantheon experience from like the end of last season. You know, and even going into raids that we'd done before, like we did a King's Fall a couple nights ago.
Right.
And the bosses in there seemed way tougher than I remembered them being just a month ago, you know, with my same team that I was with, same loadouts and everything.
Really? Okay.
And it felt like it. I don't know if maybe it's just because I don't have the same artifact mods active or what, but it does seem like they've tweaked the difficulty a little bit too far in favor of making the game harder.
Okay.
And you know, if you try the campaign on Legendary, another example, you know, I call it the tanky switch.
Yeah. If
you have a second player in your fire team, then they have fire team damage scaling.
Yep.
And so that seemed incredibly tough with 2. And, you know, when they first started the fire team damage scaling, it was even tougher with 3. This time it seemed easier with 3. It was like 2 players turns on the tanky switch, and then 3 players, it's the same tanky switch, but now you've got 3 players, you know, distracting enemies and you know, kind of dividing their attention. And so it seemed like it was actually easier when before it seemed like it was harder. And, you know, I mentioned the This Week in Destiny. They're tuning that back now. They've seen how players are kind of responding to it,
right?
And I think that's a good move.
Yep, absolutely. Well, good deal, man.
It didn't make anything impossible to do. You know, like I said, just that last mission, I had to call in some help.
I did it solo legend, but it took a lot of tries. A lot of okay, we're going to pause at this save point, this checkpoint, and we're going to come back after dinner. And I'm not going to fret over it right now. So. It's easy to get frustrated, especially when you're facing the witness at the last point there, because you have the flying husk. I can't remember that. I never remember the name of these guys, but you have the threaders up front that actually try to grab you with strand and pull you up to the front of the arena there you're fighting in. And that's a no-no on that last map. You do not want to be at the front of that because they'll just stomp you to death. But, yeah, it's a frustrating mission. And even up there were, Nico and I were talking about this on the Guardian Downcast, I think the episode of our initial impressions of Final Shape. And we mentioned that I think there were 3 major boss fights in just the last campaign story alone, Iconoclasm. So they definitely ramped it up in that last story. No doubt.
Have you tried that one on cooperative focus yet?
Not yet. I've got to do that to complete my, I'm working on my, Guardian rank, and that's one of the things I've got to do on my Guardian rank. In fact, have you tried that yet? The cooperative focus mode?
Yeah, I've done all 3 of them. They add even more mechanics on top of what's already going on with those, but they don't seem as difficult, like power level wise. I know the tag on them says 2005, but they play more like the Legendary campaign. Okay. And
you want to explain what that is exactly to someone who may not have getting into that yet, the cooperative focus mode?
So after you complete the campaign, there are 3 replayable missions in the Paleheart map area that you want to be in a fire team. I don't think they're match made, but you replay those missions with a slightly higher difficulty. I don't remember if they modify the enemies or not, you know, like throwing more champions in or anything like that. But they add different mechanics. There's one called the Berserker, which anybody who remembers the Scourge of the Past raid, which I'm a fan of, that was a great raid. The Berserker is a special type of enemy that 2 players have to shoot at from different directions to break down his force field.
Right.
And that's not in the regular campaign. They just add those into some of the encounters in the cooperative focus. There's also a mechanic where the players have to pass a debuff between them. And if it reaches like 10 stacks, then it kills that player.
Wow.
But then a player can take it once it reaches 7, and then they take it on themselves, and then you have a recovery period after another player's taking it from you.
Yeah, it kind of
it's meant to be
leaks
juggled
away, right?
between the 3 players.
Yeah. I was you said fire team. I want to make sure you mentioned is a 3-man fire team. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool deal. So as you pass that buff, it decays off of you, right? So the stacks go away. So that's how you pass it around. You're just basically buffering those stacks from getting too high. I get that. That's a very common type of mechanic that Destiny likes to throw our way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good deal.
But it does make communication kind of necessary too.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it off comms, if it's familiar with the mechanic and knows what to do. But it's good to be able to call out to the next player, hey, I'm at 6 stacks, be ready to take it from me. And
right. I could use emotes,
juggling that on top of the other things that happen.
Right. Yeah. If everyone knows the deal and what's going on, then you could probably emote when someone needs to come and grab it. It's possible, but I would definitely, it definitely probably behoove you to have a communicated 3-man fire team to do it. So I've yet to do it. I just finished my Kvostov mission, and that was a lot. You had to do all the sys twice. You had to run the Lost in the Light from Micah 10. All those Lost in the Darkness and Lost in Light missions, you got to run all those to unlock the sys first, and then you got to run through the sys again and then grab these materials in there, and it's just a lot. You got to grab Motes of Light. You got to grab Ghost, the hidden ghost stories in the world. It took me 3 different play nights to get all that done, and I was using YouTube to help me out on that too. So just had a little cheat box to tell me how to do it. I don't know how anybody could figure it out without having some kind of guide, because it's very abstract on how to find all this stuff. You just have to scour every inch of the Paleheart, and it's not small. There's a lot of nooks and crannies in this world. So
just last night, I learned a trick about the cyst, mini missions.
Okay.
And, I've looked for them on my map, and only 3 of them show up, and I know there's 6, and I've cleared all 6.
Right.
They have the same kind of starting point, and you have to activate the hawk at that point to turn on that cyst mission, whether it's one or the other in each of the 3 primary areas in the Paleheart. And I didn't know that. I thought I had to go, pick up another quest from Micah 10 that happened to be in that cyst in order to activate it.
Well, the Micah 10, the Lost in the Darkness, Lost in the Light, those will actually walk you through unlocking all those cyst areas. And the cyst areas are like little lost sectors on their own. I mean, they have a boss, they have lots of stuff you got to do. It depends on what cyst you're in, but yeah, you do swap between the 2. Once you unlock both of them, then you can swap them anytime you like with the light, Falcon at the beginning there. I want to call it an eagle, but Nico swears it's a falcon, so I don't know. It's a pretty graceful bird. We'll leave it at that. But, once we got all this done, there's this new system that Bungie put in place called Pathfinder, and all it really is, on the Paleheart, it looks like a compass. I guess it's right in the middle of your map. I'm going to pull it up here real quick. If you scroll over the Paleheart area, yeah, it is right there in the center of your map, kind of lit up, and it says Pathfinder. It's above everything on the it's on the top middle of your Paleheart map. If you're looking, you can't miss it. It's a giant icon, and then you see this web, this web of different objectives to do. But do you want to explain exactly what this new Pathfinder system is? Like just a synopsis of it?
So it's a new method that they built into the Final Shape expansion, where they took what was formerly the bounty system, and just to even go back a little bit further for people who aren't really familiar with that, the bounties and Pathfinder challenges are little extra tasks you can pick up that get you rewards during your gameplay. So extra experience, sometimes bright dust, crafting materials, and then in the case of the Pathfinder for ritual activities, it can help with like vendor challenges, by increasing your rank and stuff like that. So what these are good for is primarily XP. And, it's a little bit with each completion, but it does add up over time, and that levels up your season pass bar faster. It unlocks your artifact mods more quickly. For, when you get completions, you get bright dust, and that's nice to have built up for, say something shows up in Eververse, like a, cool shader or ornament or something like that.
Right.
And then you can also get engrams from completions of a path. And those will help you grow your power level up to the power cap. And then even after that, they might be good for infusing. Say you've gotten to a higher power level and you have a favorite weapon that's at a lower power. That's a good way if you get an engram that decodes into the same kind of weapon or the same piece of armor, that kind of thing. You can use that for infusion. But it's also one of the best ways I've seen to get enhancement prisms.
Yeah, it is.
When you're leveling up your equipment. Yeah, right. Those for some reason I haven't been able to get as many of those this season as I have before, and I'm starting to get a little low whenever I buy like a Ascendant Shard or something like that. I'm like, do I really want to buy that?
Yeah, I notice I'm getting more enhancement cores. I notice they're dropping enhancement cores a little more freely now that legendary shards are gone. And I was really worried that enhancement cores would be the one currency that's going to be really tough to accumulate, but they seem to be pretty generous with it, so I'm not complaining about that. But enhancement prisms, unless you're running, Grandmaster Nightfalls and, have the Ghost equip or wins in Crucible or Gambit or completions and the Vanguard Strikes award you it's they're not dropping out of the sky, that's for sure. But it is really nice to I was looking at all the rewards and you're talking about the activity, the weekly activity, Pathfinder. Unfortunately, the one in the Paleheart does not award Bright Dust. And I was talking to, Warcry about this last night. I said, well, what happened to the repeatable bounties? When I play Crucible, I would, about every couple games, I would grab from the mobile app, I would load up more repeatable bounties, which would give me 10 Bright Dust per completion. And it'd take a game or two to get most of it done. But I would always keep, farming Bright Dust as I'm playing Crucible through the night. But as I look at this, the rewards from the activity, the general weekly activity that you see on your destination map, not the Paleheart, it's pretty generous, man. It's pretty generous. I was looking at the XP here. You get on the first the first reset, you get 25,000 XP, an enhancement prism, 150 Bright Dust, and that's on your first 3 completions, 3 paths. And that's what's that, 450 Bright Dust for your first 3 completions. And what I was curious to ask you is, I have not run these yet. I will when Iron Banner comes out next week, but how quickly are you getting through this Pathfinder for the activities? Now, you play mainly strikes, correct?
Yes.
So how quickly do you think?
Yeah, strikes with this? So it depends on how you strategize, and also what I want to call them bounties, Pathfinder objectives you happen to get, because the Pathfinder yours is going to be different from mine every time we reset.
That's
or every
right.
time a new weekly reset hits. It's procedurally generated. I don't know what factors into that. I mentioned before that it's tailored to whatever the bonus activity of the week is. So if you get extra Gambit reputation or extra Nightfall boosts, that it'll have more nodes that cater to that. The ones I've gotten, they kind of make me wonder sometimes, because they'll be tricky. I'll get a node that says, defeat X number of enemies while they're blinded by arc. And it's like, I don't even know how to apply that status effect without, throwing a grenade that's going to just disintegrate them. So,
maybe
some of them can be
a grenade
difficult.
launcher, maybe, but, with blinding grenades, maybe. So yeah, I mean, it looks like you can get through these activities, these nodes on the activity, Pathfinder pretty quickly, but, we had some tips and tricks that we'll share later, but, I just wanted to explain what exactly it is. Now, the one for, the Paleheart is a little bit different than the activity one. You do get different rewards. The first reset, you get this Ergo Sum exotic sword, and it's RNG as far as what, exotic perks come with it. I've gotten several of these, and you can get robot grenades, like from one of the exotic grenade launchers. You can get, the Perfect Fifth, which is like the Polaris Lance, that has that extra explosion. I mean, there's so many different things. I've even had people have the wolf pack rounds, where they they cast, the sword, strike and it actually comes out with wolf pack rounds like the Galahorn did. Just crazy stuff. I haven't gotten that one yet, by the way. But, on your first pass, you'll get a full vendor rank up on your ghost, which is your Paleheart, vendor. And you get 25,000 overall XP. You'll get, like I said, the powerful tier 3 Ingram, which is always Paleheart gear. And of course the Ergo Sum exotic sword, which I believe also falls at a pretty powerful level as well, at least on the first one. The second path through, you get another Ergo Sum exotic sword. You get a Paleheart Ingram, which is focusable. You get 375 vendor rep for your ghost vendor on Paleheart. Another 25,000 XP. The third time you go through it, you basically get everything, above except the sword. And, the fourth and over, though, that you reset it, you'll get a World Legendary Ingram, which I tell you what, the World loot pool is very nice this season, episode expansion. I can't even remember what to call it. You get 150 ghost rank and you get 4,000 XP. So it's not an XP monster after you reset it, 3 times. You definitely want to try to do it 3 times a week. That's where you're getting your maximum, really rewards for that. But, just keep in mind too, we're talking about your ghost vendor rep on, the Paleheart, finding chest, picking up planetary materials, finishing mini activities, the special loot chest, all adds to ghost rep as well. So that's on top of everything you're doing in the Paleheart already. So, yeah, it would be really nice if they could offer Bright Dust for the Paleheart one as well. That'd be really a cool way for PvE players to really farm Bright Dust. At first I really felt like they were really cutting our Bright Dust farming abilities back. But I don't know, man. I was looking over the on the activities Pathfinder rewards. You can complete it up to 10 times and, get 150 Bright Dust per pass. So you can effectively completing it 10 times, 10 path completions doing Gambit, Vanguard, or Crucible, 1,500 Bright Dust. Now that's not bad. I was trying to figure out how many repeatable bounties I could do for 10 Bright Dust at a time, and it would take 150 of those bounties to do the same thing. So I have to admit, this looks like a better system for farming Bright Dust. And I don't know, I've been very impressed. I can't wait to jump in when Iron Banner comes in next week, but yeah, I'm really happy with this, and I'm really curious if they're going to add this Pathfinder system for Iron Banner next week. One, because that would be fantastic. And also I would like to see if they would, because right now you still have to go to the older planets like Nessus, which the Echoes season episode right now is on, or the Cosmodrome, all of the older planets. You still go to those planets and get regular bounties. And I'm wondering if they would add some kind of general planetary Pathfinder, not just for the Paleheart down the road. It would seem like this is the way that they're going versus going and collecting bounties from vendors every week, What do you think? You think they'll expand on that, or where are you at on that?
Yeah, I would really like to see it. You talked about the Bright Dust being a little bit faster to get through the Pathfinder. I'm noticing too. We're what 3-4 weeks into the season now.
We're heading into our 4th week. Yeah.
Yeah, and my season pass is already in the 80s.
Yeah, I'm at high 70s right now, and I took a whole week off this week because I had a grandchild. So yeah, it's moving up quick.
And I checked earlier today. I've got 9 completions of a Pathfinder path in the Paleheart.
Mm-hmm.
And on the Ritual Pathfinder, I can't have more than like 4 or 5.
Okay. Where do you find that stat? Is that in DIM?
It's definitely.
Is that in DIM where you can find that?
So it's one of your journey like triumph entries. You can look at how many Pathfinder completions you've got.
Okay, I'll have to look that up later. Okay.
I don't know about the activity Pathfinder. I haven't seen one for that. But,
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, if you just go to like the Paleheart section.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll look that up.
It also has a stat on completing Pathfinder like challenges or the nodes.
Right.
And I've got 98 of them.
Wow.
The triumph is for 100, so I'm almost there.
Wow, that's fantastic, man.
Yes. So 98 nodes, 9 completions. and that's been, most of what I've been playing since the expansion dropped. And yeah, I'm already in the 80s on the season pass bar, which I think the season pass bar goes longer now, right? It doesn't cap out at 100, and then you just start getting Eververse engrams.
Yeah, you do get Eververse engrams in the first act. You can only go to 100, but every 5 levels past 100, it's just like the old days. You'll get what would it call it? A Eververse engram. Because if you look at your season pass bar right now in game, you'll see at the bottom, it's a different kind of icon. But if you look at your season pass bonuses, as you're unlocking, your currency bonuses, your XP bonuses, masterwork bonus, Scrounger, of course, you got your season pass bonuses and legacy quest bonus. If you look to the far right, there's a bright engram bonus. Oh, I see what they did here. Earn additional rank rewards for every 500,000 XP, which I believe is about the same. I'm pretty sure it's 100,000 per level XP. So I have a feeling it's for every five levels on your season pass per act, you'll get an extra engram as well. The Eververse engram, nothing's changed there. It's still the same. But what's cool is you're going to get 50 more unlocks in the season pass on Act 2, mm-hmm. and then another 50 on Act 3. So effectively, you're getting 200 levels, which I'm really curious to see what actually, I can see what they offer here. I'm really wondering if they're going to offer, it just says hidden legacy reward, and it doesn't tell you what it is. I see we got, some really cool ornaments and gloves. I'm looking to see if they have any. Oh, there they are. Harmonic deep side harmonizers. You can get more. That's great news, because I have a lot of guns that I really want to get my crafting done on them. So yeah. 100 days left, by the way, of this first episode. And we have, basically 16 days left as of this recording of Act 1. So July 16th is when I believe, the next Act 2 comes out. So it's different. I mean, until we get through a full episode, I really don't have any strong opinion on anything one way or another. I thought the Echoes story for 3 weeks of story, and that's it. I think that was a little light, but they're just stretching things out, right? Over the entire 3 acts. And I guess that's just the way it's going to be. But, have you been liking the season? I keep saying season, the episodic content. Just a slight aside here.
Yeah, it's been fun. And I actually like that these episodes are longer than the older seasons used to be.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because like whenever they had the seasons, with a delay or something like that, it gave me a little bit of breathing room in that
Yes.
season where I didn't feel like I was trying to keep up with it.
Yes.
And, I could relax. And especially now, we talk about how much there is to do in the Pale Heart. I think I let the season sit for a week before I even started to do the Echoes missions. And I was worried too. I'm like, oh, am I getting, too far behind on this? Am I going to, be missing out on the story, or can I get the activities done that I need to? And,
mm-hmm.
Because I was just so focused on,
sure, me too.
Campaign and, all the other stuff. So, having it a little bit longer, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, you got to remember too, I think Bungie knows this. It's summertime. Everyone's taking vacations. They're outside doing stuff with their families. Gaming is not a super priority for a lot of gamers right now. And I know there's going to be hardcore gamers that are just going to play regardless. Kids are out of college right now, have all the summer to play games. They're not so stringent because they have to work for finals and stuff. Same for high school and stuff like that as well. So for them, it's prime time. But for a lot of the adults that play, that work for a living, a lot of them are taking vacations and, trying to do more stuff out with their family while the weather's good, right? So even if it's sweltering in Florida and Texas right now. By the way, we got a hurricane already in the Atlantic. Isn't that great?
Oh,
welcome to July. Yeah,
that doesn't.
It looks like lower Caribbean.
Goes okay for you.
It looks like lower Caribbean. It looks like it's going under Cuba. So I worry more about Texas and Mexico right now, Mexican coast. But I never say never, man. You never know when the curvature of the Earth is going to pop that thing up to Florida. It's always a risk. Sorry, I will get off on a tangent. Hey, thanks again for listening to the Destiny Help Desk podcast. You can check out all of my contact information at destinyhelpdeskpodcast.com or visit my Twitter X at Todd the Gator. Remember, that's 2 D's and GATR. And finally, my YouTube channel at Todd the Gator. You can email me at toddthegator@gmail.com for any questions or comments. And if you have a question for the show, you can also send me a voice message at speakpipe.com/Destiny Help Desk, where your message may be played live on a future show. I welcome your questions, as that's my way of helping you. And who knows, maybe there's another Guardian out there with the same question, so you may be helping others without even knowing it. Please rate and review the show on Apple Music or Spotify or whatever podcast app you use, and that review may help make this show visible to other Guardians out there as well. So thank you, and later, Guardian. Okay, so we've explained what these two different Pathfinder systems are. Do you think they should offer another type of Pathfinder? We'll just leave it at, let's hope there's one for Iron Banner. It probably won't be, because they'll probably tie it in with, with the activity one for Crucible. But it would be really cool if they offered one for Iron Banner, since it's a special event. And they're extending it for 2-week periods at a time now, which makes me think maybe they'll do it. I don't know. But what do you think about all the other bounties that we still have to pick up? And you don't have to, but I do bounties. So, I'm still finding myself having to go to the Bungie app and download all of those other planetary bounties, and, got Gunsmith and stuff too that you still have to go get bounties from. So what do you think, man? Do you think this is going to be a pattern that Bungie is going to keep going forward with, or do you think this is pretty much the lay of the land for right now?
Well, I think Iron Banner would be a good opportunity for a Pathfinder. I think whatever the seasonal vendor is, right now in Echoes, it's Failsafe at the helm. I think maybe a seasonal activity Pathfinder would have been a good thing to build into. Now, with the planets, though, they're already set up with a vendor on the planet that you can get bounties from.
Yep.
And there are differences in how the Ritual Pathfinder and the Pale Heart Pathfinder work.
Right.
The Pale Heart Pathfinder, it focuses on areas. It's do certain activities and quests that are in the Pale Heart. Mm-hmm. And so they would have to, retool that whole system on each destination in order to make a Pathfinder shaped around that.
Right. Yeah.
So I can see why they left those as bounties. And I think the system's good going forward. It does the same thing that bounties did with maybe a little bit different focus, and it does, Bungie has said this, and I saw a lot of Reddit comments kind of upset about it, but they said that it encourages you to get out of your comfort zone, and that used to be, for me, it meant a bounty that said use a weapon I was unfamiliar with, or
right.
Maybe go to a destination that I didn't see very often, but I could still stay out of the activities that I wasn't as focused on, so I wouldn't have to do a Crucible thing to finish a Pathfinder node connection. Whereas now the Ritual Pathfinder, it is what you get. And sometimes you have to do a different activity from what you're wanting to work on in order to complete a path. So, I can see how that plays in with the whole Ritual vendor system. I don't think for planets it would be anywhere near that big of a step out of form for how the bounties work. But also, you don't get as many planetary bounties as you would get Pathfinder challenges. Because you go to Devrim in the EDZ, for example, and there's 3 bounties you can pick up?
4, and repeatables, but they don't give you anything but a tiny little bit of rep. Yeah. Oh, let's see. The only repeatable one is on Cosmodrome. It's probably for the new players too, to learn how to do bounties and do repeatables. But no, they offer 4 bounties on Nessus. They offer the weeklies and 4 regular ones on I always say the ice planet Hoth, Europa, and Neptune the same way. You have 2 weekly ones and the 4 regular ones that reset every daily. But I think you have repeatable ones on Neptune. I don't know so much about Europa if they still have them there, and Savathun's Stone World, I think they might have some repeatables, but EDZ, the Moon, let's see, maybe Moon does too, but I know EDZ and Nessus do not. Dreaming City, I think they're fixed as well. Every planet apparently, I guess, has its own little flair, but it would just be nice if they had like, kill Fallen on Europa, for instance. That's your first node. And then the second node could be, kill Vex on Nessus. And then the next path could be, complete the new seasonal activity on Nessus, one completion. And then, as they get a little harder as you go through them, right? So maybe the last node could be something like, run a nightmare, on the moon, run a nightmare mission on the moon or something. Mm-hmm. You could do something like that. Yeah, and of course,
nightmare mission or Empire Hunt or, yeah.
Exactly. That would make, well, it is bringing people out of their comfort zone, what they're used to playing every day, but it gives you the options. But, that's one way they could get people to, to play some of the older content that's in the game. Some people don't like that.
Just a general patrol zone destination Pathfinder.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's not tied to ritual activities or anything.
I still do patrols, man. I mean, it does still give clan XP, which you do have to keep ranking up your clan. So, has that as well. And you have 5,000 clan XP you can contribute to your clan every week. And if everyone's doing that, then your clan rank goes up pretty quick and you start unlocking some cool benefits. Our three clans for Guardian Outcast rank up pretty quick. We max out usually within a few weeks, level 6, because we have a lot of active players in all three clans. It's really nice. It's refreshing, really. And we have people who still are joining that are looking for clans that want to jump in and be involved, and contribute. I think you had some examples of different approaches that players take to completing their Pathfinders. You want to share some of them?
And apologies in advance. The best analogy I could come up with for this is shopping. Like different strategies people have when they go shopping, but
gotcha.
It fits, so we can roll with that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So the first approach I've seen from some players is they passively complete bounties or Pathfinder challenges as they go. They play the game they want without really giving it much thought. If it says, hey, you've completed this, then they'll claim the rewards. They may focus on a node if they notice it'll like connect the dots to complete a path and, like finish out a Pathfinder. But they generally don't give it much thought. And the way I see that, going back to the shopping analogy, is it's sort of like you've gone into the store already and you have the thing you want to get and you find it's on sale.
Right.
It's like, okay, cool. I get a discount on this, or, there's some kind of buy one, get one free or something. But it's not, it's not like actively planned out or anything like that.
Okay.
But that's kind of the second approach that I see players take is they'll focus a little more on at least the challenges and the nodes that fit their play style. So like for me, I'll go into the ritual Pathfinder and look at the Vanguard Strike ones first, or the ones that are, I just call them general because it's, you can complete them by playing any of the ritual activities. It gives you like different point values for like Crucible versus, enemies and strikes.
Mm-hmm.
But, they'll see those and they might like change their loadout or pick a subclass that lets them complete them. So say, you need to get Void Final Blows. Well, you might switch to your Void subclass. And, it's putting a little bit of active thought into it, but not getting too far out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think most players play like that. You just kind of look and say, oh, I can achieve that fairly easily without making too many changes or messing up my loadout that's tailored around, a certain element, certain weapon. And so that is more or less the way that I think Bungie intended for this too. Is it's not, it's something you have to think about a little bit, but not dwell on or build entire like strategies around. And so it's kind of, back to the shopping analogy. Sorry.
It's all right. I like that.
It's kind of like, it's like planning out your shopping trip. Like say, I need to go to this store first. I need to go to the hardware store first before I go pick up my groceries because those are going to be cold and I need to get them home in time. So you do put a little bit of thought into it and you're deliberate about what you do, but again, it's not stepping too far out of your comfort zone.
Right.
Now, you can take that to an extreme. This is, I say extreme, but you can gamify it. I think I said that's kind of how I'll do bounties when I was on the GDC podcast.
Absolutely.
You can lean into these challenges, and I've actually seen it as kind of a game within a game at times, where you can look at these and see, oh well, I've got this Pathfinder node that says this, and this Pathfinder node that says this. Can I complete those at the same time by multitasking? You can even track your progress on them as you go. Like if you load into the strike or whatever, and you have to get 10 final blows with sniper rifles. Well, you might check that after you get to like a point after the mid boss or something, and say, oh, okay, I finished that. Now I can switch to this other weapon that I was going to focus on, or that kind of thing. And that's back to the shopping analogy. That's like not only planning your errands, but it's checking for the deals in advance. Or, in the case of bounties, it's like clipping coupons. Yeah.
I see that analogy. Yes, I do.
You can maximize your gains, and you can really, I've got an example of a Pathfinder that I, completed quite a few nodes in a real short period of time. And, that's it. If you really want to dive into it and kind of make an extra game out of it, you can have some fun with that.
Absolutely. And I've probably done a little bit of all that, when doing the Paleheart one, because like I mentioned, I haven't done the activity one. Well, let me ask you this, since we're talking about approaches, what would be your approach looking at the activity Pathfinder, Ronin? What approach are you taking right now? Just to kind of share a real world example here.
With the Ritual Pathfinder, I would probably focus on strikes first. They're quick. You can finish them in 10 to 15 minutes. So I would look through the Pathfinder, and if you look at the different nodes, they have a symbol on them, right? There's the general, like all ritual activities symbol, looks like a little planet or a star.
Yep.
And then there's the Vanguard shield, the Gambit dual snake coin,
right?
And then the Crucible crossed swords. So right there, I can see which nodes I might want to look at, and if there's a path that's like all Crucible, well, I'm not going to probably achieve that by doing strikes. So I may not give that much thought, but I'll skim over them and see, like, okay, for example, you've got 5 tiers in your Pathfinder, right? And they narrow down. So in your first tier, you've got 6 nodes or challenges. Second tier, it drops to 5, then 4, 3, and then 2, and then you completed a path when you connect the dots all the way across. So on my Ritual Pathfinder, I had 2 Gambit nodes, 2 Vanguard nodes, and then 2 General nodes. Okay. And so right there I can see, okay, the Gambit nodes, I'm probably not going to be able to complete those in a strike, but the General nodes and Vanguard tasks, I can look into those challenges. And so of those, I've got in Vanguard strikes, for example, get final blows on 50 targets. That's easy. Then I've got another General one that says get 50 final blows with a sidearm. Well, okay, 50 and 50, I can probably, just carry a sidearm around in a strike and complete both of those.
Always use a sidearm, folks. Always use a sidearm, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, it was really good one this season, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones, yep.
But then, my next nodes were Vanguard, specifically, get 25 sidearm final blows. Well, if I'm already going to get 50, then that one's going to get completed.
Wow, nice.
And then the last node was a general node that said get 25 final blows with Void. Well, I might be able to stack that in with the sidearm. I don't know. I don't have any good Void sidearms that I can think of, but
I'll find one for you. Oh, don't you worry. I'll find one. I got them open. I'll find you one. Hold on a second here. Well, go ahead. Keep going. I'll find one.
Well, so I'll circle back to that because it played in with something else.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
So in the next tier, tier 2, where there's only 5, I had 2 that were Crucible. So, didn't really look at those. I had 1 for Gambit, and then I had 2 that were General. And so of the 2 General ones, one was defeat enemies with solar ignitions, and the other was defeat enemies that are weakened or suppressed with Void. Nice. Well, so that one can maybe tie in with the 25 Void final blows if I play my cards right, and it's not weapon specific. Now, that's in the third tier, there was only 2 Vanguard bounties, but one of them was on the other side of a Crucible node, so I probably wasn't going to be able to get to that. But it was defeat 100 Vex just in Vanguard strikes. Doesn't say what weapon type or, if it's with abilities or whatever.
Even better.
So, that one I might think about. Then I get to tier 4 where there's only 3 nodes. Well, now this one kind of plays back in with some of the other ones. There was a general node that said get 10 grenade final blows in a single life. Well, if I'm survivable or if I'm using void grenades with Devour, that's going to keep me alive. And void grenades can weaken stuff. So that goes back to my tier 2 objective. So that can play in with all these. And then there was another one that was defeat enemies that are arc blinded, which I still don't have a really good grasp on that. I think I've got like one weapon on my hunter that's good for it.
Yeah.
And then there was get 10 multi-kills with supers. And, you're probably not going to finish that in a single strike, but it might be worth trying, if I'm on a void subclass. You throw a Nova Bomb.
If you're getting a lot of supers quickly back, if you have an exotic that gets you like supers, whether it's the exotic class item or whatever, that might help you a little bit, but that's definitely you're not going to do that in one game, that's for sure. They do get a little harder, it looks like, as you go on in activities.
Yeah.
But you're right, man. They're synergistic. Yeah. They all work together. A lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and then in the last tier, right before I could, complete a path node, complete a path, sorry, it was just a general purpose, complete activities, and you get bonus progress on the percentage for assists. So that could be anything, Vanguard, Gambit, Crucible. And so that's like one that will passively complete just by doing ritual activities, and I don't need to worry about that, really. That's just going to happen. And that's the last one right before the end of the path. So I'm probably going to complete that, by the time I've done some of these other ones. And so what I did after I skimmed through these, and I mean, this only took 5 minutes. I mean, I just kind of panned over them. I was like, oh, got something that can do that. Got something that can do that. Okay. Right. I might use this build. If you got builds set up, that's a really good way to pair these. Mm-hmm. But what I did was I switched to my void subclass. I equipped a sidearm and a heavy machine gun with incandescent because I saw some of these like solar ignitions.
Yep.
And, so I threw that on and, took that into the strike. Afterward, I checked my progress. So
let me ask you this. Knowing that you know the path now to get your first path done, if all of those things that you just mentioned that work together pretty well, and you're just, like I said, you're just creating a path to that reward. It's not like you have to complete this whole web. You will get XP for each of the nodes, by the way, but if you decide the path you're going to take, this is really cool because, like you said, it is a game within a game. How long would it take you to complete that path playing your strikes?
Probably not long. And, you also still have the rewards for doing ritual activities. Every third completion gets you, I think it's an exotic engram, right?
Nice.
And so that's regardless of whether it's Vanguard or Gambit or Crucible. So jumping back and forth between them isn't really, you're still going to get rewards for those. And so, I might do 2 strikes and a Gambit round, just to complete something.
And be all the way through one path?
What I'll do is and usually what I'll do is I'll what I want to play, I'll do strikes first, for example. And then if I have like a cleanup node that I need to just complete to make the path work or to connect, 2 extra dots or whatever, then I might step out and do that. A Gambit round doesn't take too long. Crucible, I enjoy momentum control, for example.
Right.
And that's a great way to farm, if you need final blows with a certain weapon or any of that. But, it's not going to be my focus because that's just not my play style. And so
I'm options,
able to stay in my lane without taking too many detours. And I complete it, it resets, and it gives me a whole new set of bounties to look at and, try to figure out the best way I can get as many of them done in as short a time as possible.
So using that logic that you just told me on the activity Pathfinder, they reset every week, by the way, automatically, whether you complete them or not. They'll reset to something new every week, just like a weekly bounty. How many resets are you getting typically playing? If you're fairly active, you're playing, I don't know your frequency of how often you play. I know everyone has different schedules, but on your typical week, how many Pathfinders are you completing in the activity playlist, you think?
Probably 2 to 3. Right, not a huge amount.
But see,
try to get the bright dust and everything. But
yeah, I was just going to say, you're getting 450 bright dust for completing those 3 resets, and that's probably casually playing. But if you're being more strategic about it, instead of just playing and then just seeing, oh, that's filling up. And that's another thing I want to mention. All of these nodes are retroactive. So you can be filling nodes. You can be filling your final node and like you just mentioned, Ronan, while you're trying to complete these other nodes. So it basically what it is, it's all these bounties are spread out into a web, and you can either take the direct path, like Ronan talked about, find your path and get to it, switch over to what you need to, or they just start filling up on their own from just playing all 3 activities. I mean, in the past, you would have to do 7 bounties for each vendor, and you would get 120 bright dust. So that's 360 bright dust. So you're getting even more bright dust, and it seems like it's not pigeonholing you to have to play Gambit now, or to have to play Strikes or Crucible. You decide what path you're going to take and what your play style is based on that, and it just seems a lot more freeing. And here's the thing, Ronan, that I think a lot of people forget. These daily bounties that we used to have with our Crucible, Vanguard, and Gambit vendors is they would expire after a day or a little bit over a day, which drove me crazy because I would sit down for maybe 3 hours a night to work on something in Crucible, say, and I'd come back a couple days later and those bounties that were half completed are gone. They've dropped off. So this way, it's like you have a complete weekly bounty at the minimum. And then, like I said, once you complete it, you can hit the reset button and re-rack the Pathfinder, like you're re-racking the pool table, right? And have a whole new set of paths to follow. I really like this system, man. I really do. And by the way, you mentioned Void Sidearms. You have, the Swift Verdict, the Brass Attacks, which is coming back this year, in the pool. You have everybody has a Fiora Tuna 59. They dropped those like candy last year. The Void, the one that fires automatically, the rapid fire frame. I've got a ton of those. And then also you have the, if you kept it from the 7th Seraph sidearm, you have that one as well that is void. So yeah, you have lots of options, man. You have a lot of options. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like this, man. I like this. That's a great example to just let people know how easy it can be, right? And I like the shopping analogy because you're kind of saying, okay, I need a little bit of this. I need to do a little bit of this. Okay, then I'll go do this a little bit. And all you have to do is just set your build or your weapon types or weapon energies to set that path and just go play and have fun.
The build that I used on this one too, I actually kind of looked back into it. It was a Voidwalker with Controverse Hold. And I think that's one of the builds that they have like pre-built for you that you can just pick up from Ikora, even if you're a first time player, right?
You can. Yes. It's one of your predetermined, that's for the newer players. Yeah. You can pick that right up. They give it to you.
Yeah, and most of my builds have an exotic weapon somewhere in there, but this one I actually didn't even take an exotic in with me. I used one of the rocket sidearm, the new one, mm-hmm. and I mentioned the incandescent machine gun. So it was using weapons that are fairly available. It's not you don't have to have a great like meta loadout to do this. You can use a simple loadout and still complete these. Just by putting a little thought into them ahead of time, and again just stack them, like multitask what you can. Exactly, and the sidearm you mentioned, the Call, that Strand explosive rocket assisted frame sidearm is a favorite. Everybody loves this, and they drop them like candy when you play the campaign. So yeah, that's a good example there. Well, let me give an example of how I usually do my Pathfinder on the Paleheart, because I've reset mine probably at least 5 times, I would say, and I took a week off. I did complete a lot of stuff just by playing anything on the Paleheart. And that first way you mentioned where stuff would just fill up, you're just playing randomly. But I'm looking at this week's reset Pathfinder for Paleheart. Defeat taken in the Blooming. Defeat combatants with energy weapons in the impasse. So it seems to be it's like tied to certain areas. So I would probably pick an area that I'm working on, say a side mission on. I mean, you got Wasteland, you got Reclamation, that's in the landing. Any of these areas, it looks like almost everything starts doing something in a certain area.
And then the next node over is collecting chests in certain areas. In the Pale Heart, travel to the impasse and claim a reward by defeating Verhalja, Subjugator of Ruin. These are these little mini games we talk about in the Pale Heart. You encounter these mini games and you get these mini bosses that pop up, and all you have to do is kill it. Boom, it's unlocked. That node is complete. That is probably the easiest way I completed stuff. I was trying to get my my overthrows done in all the different areas. And as you're doing the overthrows in those areas, you were just getting all kinds of stuff done. And one of the things I'll mention too with the Pathfinder for the Pale Heart, you can track, I believe, 3 of the nodes, maybe more, and they light up on your map. So when a Pathfinder drops for the Pale Heart, by the way, I don't know how this works in activities. I would think it'd be pretty hard to put it on a map, but all of the nodes for this Pathfinder that reset are all laid out on your map, and you can just scroll over them and just see what it says to do. You can do it that way as well. Like in the impasse right now, there's 5 nodes within 40 yards of each other. So I would probably go to the impasse and get 5 of these things done. But let's go back to the example that I mentioned for this week. I would probably go to the impasse. So my first node would be in the Pale Heart, travel to the impasse and complete the expunging event. Or I would go to, in the Pale Heart, defeat combatants with energy weapons in the impasse. You got to kill 40 things with an energy weapon. That can be a void, any energy weapon. It could be a void, pulse rifle. It can be anything as long as you're using energy and not a kinetic. So I would probably get that done. And then you have in the Pale Heart, collect resource nodes in the divide. Let's see if there's more stuff in the impasse. Here we go. In the Pale Heart, travel to the impasse and complete the purifying event. That's one of the little mini games. Like I said, you could kill the Verhalja subjugator in the impasse as well. Either one of those would work. And then going into the next node, which is your 4 different things, defeat powerful taken in the impasse, the transgression, or the divide. So they're giving you even more options there. So right now, powerful taken, I can tell you right now, Verhalja is a taken boss, I believe, a taken knight. There you go. You've already got a percentage going toward that completion. And then impasse overthrow. In the Pale Heart, complete overthrow level 2 and 3 encounters. Completing overthrows is very simple, even as a solo player, because anything you do, I'm talking you get 15 points for collecting a material on the Pale Heart. I believe you get 25 points toward your 1,000 for each level for every chest you pick up. You get 500 or 700 toward your 1,000 for any little mini game you do, like an expunging event or something you're doing from a special shiny chest in the Pale Heart. And then your last 2 tiers is right here. Complete overthrow levels 2 and 3 and loot the chest on the impasse. So here's what I would do. Impasse seems to be the game here. So I'm going to defeat combatants with energy weapons in the impasse. That's tier 1. Then I'm going to do the purifying event on the impasse. That's going to give me 500 to 700 toward my first level overthrow event. And then I'm going to defeat powerful taken while I'm in the impasse. Then I'm going to keep doing little stuff around the impasse to get the level 2 and 3 encounters, which is not hard, by the way. And then finally progress levels 2 and 3 and loot the chest. Well, the previous one already says to complete overthrow level 2 and 3 encounters and open the chest. So those even repeat each other. So once you do level 2 and 3 overthrow on impasse, you're already to your path reward completion, which is a powerful tier 3 increment. And then you're getting your ergo sum. And like it says, I have 2 remaining after that. You're getting a whole rank of ghost rep and 25,000 XP. Man, that would not take long to do. I would probably guess, Ronin, that if I took that path to complete my Pale Heart, I'd have it done within a few hours. Maybe 2
easily,
hours,
yeah.
maybe 1.5 to 2 hours, maybe. Mm-hmm. So you can see,
yeah,
it is really cool. It is a little mini game. And here's the thing too. As you're doing stuff in the impasse because that's where a lot of these, all group up here, and they're all on the map, by the way. If you pull up your map, they're all right there, little compass icons all over the place, and you can scroll over them and it'll tell you what you need to do. But my point is, you can also, for 4,000 XP per node, anything you complete while doing that path on the side, you can claim as XP as well. It's really nice. The one on the Pale Heart is so easy to complete. Like I said, I have not done the one that you've been doing, Ronan. I'll be doing that next week with the 2-week Iron Banner. I'm so excited. Get to play some Crucible finally. But it is really so easy and fun to do the overthrow missions and stuff on the Pale Heart while completing certain missions that you need to do after the campaign's completed, or like we said, there's so much to do on the Pale Heart. There's still some colored boxes that I still don't know what that means. And Kingsley, I was talking to Kingsley and he told me it was for some kind of mission, but I haven't even run into that mission yet. And here we are into week 4. So yeah, I'm really excited. The PvE Pale Heart Pathfinder is so easy to do. And like I said, I think I've reset mine 7 times, I think, just from the 3 weeks I played, or 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, because I didn't play week 3. So there you go. There's a real world example of how quickly you can get through this Pathfinder system. By yourself, by the way, solo. So you play on your time. I really love the solo instance on the Pale Heart because, like I mentioned earlier, it's like a solo playground. Everything is soloable. You don't have to be overpowered or have a killer setup to get anything done. You really can just have fun, try your weapons. I, of course, am multitasking. I'll be getting a lot of my weapon bounties done from the gunsmith while I'm in there. So that's another thing. Plus you have very general bounties on the echoes, seasonal bounties. You can combine those as well and start getting rep towards your seasonal vendor. It's just, come on, man. The Pale Heart's the place to be. All right. So now that we've done a real life simulation of an actual Pathfinder that's in game right now for this week, Ronan, do you have any tips or tricks as far as getting the Pathfinder done maybe quicker or more efficiently?
Yeah. So I made a list of my top 7, cause this is Bungie and Destiny and they like the number 7. So I thought 7 was a good number for it.
That works.
But yeah, so my top 7 tips and tricks for using Pathfinder. So number 1, and you mentioned this earlier too, track your Pathfinder nodes.
Yes.
It's like you can click on a quest to track that and it'll show you where your waypoint is for the next destination, that kind of thing. Well, you can also do that. I looked it up and it's up to 6 at once across both Pathfinders. So you can mark 3 on the Ritual Pathfinder and 3 on Pale Heart, or all 6 on one.
Perfect.
But, the benefits of this are, not just that you've kind of like tagged the ones that you want to come back to and look at, but also when you're in gameplay, it makes them show up in your list on the right when you pop your ghost out.
Exactly. Even in Crucible or whatever you're playing, so it's right there.
You can scroll through them and see which ones you've already completed, which ones you're making progress on, which ones may not be counting if you thought you were set up to do that, and you might be able to make an adjustment and start finishing that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and I did notice too that sometimes when you complete them, like a banner will show up on the bottom of your screen and it'll say like the name of the challenge. It hasn't been really consistent in my experience. I think when you track these, it shows up a little more, but that may just be me trying to make sense of it. But it does sometimes show up kind of like when your bounties complete. It'll show up like in the same spot where you collect an item.
It's a small ribbon at the bottom, and it's very quick. It doesn't stay up there very long. So I usually have to go back and go, what did I just complete? A Pathfinder completion ribbon is much smaller than a bounty ribbon. So that's how you can tell. But I'm in game. I usually never can sit there and read it because it's so small. But just go back in your Pathfinder and it'll gleam and shine on the map that there's something you've completed. So keep that in mind.
But yeah, if you're trying to do 2 different things in the same activity, like, get final blows with a sidearm and then get final blows with a sniper rifle, you can check that when it's tracked, and you can say, okay, I don't need to use my sidearm anymore. I'm going to hang back and snipe for the rest of this, strike or whatever. And that'll let you not waste any time after you've completed that challenge.
Good point.
So you can kind of focus on which one you want to at a time, and then you can get more per activity.
Excellent.
So tip number 2, the nodes on your Pathfinder connect a path, but they do not have to be done in order. You need to connect the dots to make your final path for the completion rewards, but you do not have to wait to start one that's in, tier 5 until, after you've done tiers 1 through 4. Like you can complete those, and you talked about that a little bit on the Pale Heart Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm.
the last two on the Pale Heart Pathfinder are almost always overthrow.
Right.
It'll be overthrow in one area, overthrow in another area. And so if you use overthrow to complete some of your other Pathfinder nodes, then you're going to be getting progress on those well in advance of when you have to connect the dots. Now, there is a stipulation in Pathfinder that you can complete a node, but you can't claim the XP from it unless there's a path connecting it to another completed node. So you do have to build a path to them in order to claim them.
Yep.
You can't just like pick one that's out in the middle and
right.
Get the reward for it.
That is a good point.
But usually it's pretty easy to find one that's beside it. You can that's actually tip number 3 here is don't be afraid to take a detour. So the completed nodes can lead in several directions. I've completed some where it looks like a zigzag back and forth, toward and away from my final Pathfinder completion. The engram that you click on.
Right.
I've had some that grow back. I've had some that look like a tree root branching down because it's like, oh, okay, I can get one more before I cash this in and finish the path. You can work in different directions. You don't have to, do one in tier 1 and then immediately start focusing on tier 2. You can go back and complete some of the other ones, or if you have one that you almost completed, when you were just in regular gameplay, then you might go back and finish that one before you reset it and get a whole new set of nodes.
Yeah, especially if it's something very easy to do, like kill 5 more things,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So tip number 4 is focus on your favorite activities first. This is more for the ritual activity Pathfinder. A lot of the nodes are the general ones that I talked about earlier, where you get progress on them from Strikes, Gambit, or Crucible. And so you can, try to work those in conjunction with your favorite activity. So if you prefer to do Strikes, then try to get progress on them. And, you may not complete them by doing Strikes, but, if you have to do a Gambit node in order to make a path, then you might use that to get the last little bit and complete the general node if you have to.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use your less favorite activities to mop up some of the nodes and make paths, or just get a little extra XP, that kind of thing. One thing that I saw was a big concern about this when Bungie said they wanted to bring players a little bit out of their comfort zone is people were worried about streak progress. And what they've done with the streaks, you get more, I think it's vendor rep, right? For, staying in an activity, do like 5 strikes back to back or do 5 crucible matches. And then, it used to reset your streak if you jumped from one activity to another.
Yep.
It doesn't do that anymore. Now it only takes 1 away if you do another activity once. So you'll still have a 4 streak in your strikes if you drop out to play 1 Gambit match. And then your next strike will replace that last one, and it'll bring it back up to 5, and you'll continue getting vendor rank that way.
Good point.
So it's not a deal breaker. It's also kind of important because how Pathfinder is structured, the way they generate it, weighted toward the activity of the week. We talked about how like next week's going to be Iron Banner, so there's probably going to be a lot more Crucible focused stuff in there. So do the nodes that you're most interested in first before you break away to do the others. But it's just going to happen, but it's not going to force you to become a different player. We're like I've completed a few, and I don't feel like I've had to spend any more time in my less favorite activities than I would normally. Number 5 is find the nodes that work together. We talked about this earlier with I need to get, 50 targets in a Vanguard Strike, and I need 50 with a sidearm, so I can do a Vanguard Strike with a sidearm, and that'll get me 2 of these. The ones that are like weapon focused are usually the easiest to pair up with something else. You talk about it too in the Pathfinder nodes where you'd go to one area and just use your energy weapon.
Yep, exactly. Same premise.
They're worth looking at even if you're not planning a path to go through that node, because you might come back to it later. You might be able to just pick it up as a bonus, XP, if you have something that runs by it and you can just quickly click on it and claim it. But that's probably the biggest thing. And that's what I used to do with bounties too, is if you can stack them, then that's going to knock them out a whole lot faster And that translates to more XP, more progress in your season pass bar, faster artifact unlocks, all those things that when you plan it out a little bit and try to multitask, it's going to, over time, really add up.
Exactly.
So my number 6, and this goes back to the try to get people out of their comfort zone. Use some of these as a way to get experience with other weapons you don't ordinarily use. There was a time where I'd see one that was get final blows with a sniper rifle. And I was like, well, I don't have a good sniper rifle, and I don't really like using those, and I'm just going to ignore that one. And over time, I've gotten more familiar with the game, and I've found models of certain weapon archetypes that I like. And sometimes this has been a catalyst for me trying out a weapon that I end up liking. When you're playing Strikes or Gambit, you don't really need like meta weapons for those. Now, Crucible is going to be a different game, and I understand that. But if you're doing these activities that aren't really like high power level, high difficulty, need meta loadouts or anything like that, it's a good way to learn about different weapons that you may not otherwise give a chance. That's how I actually learned to use fusion rifles and hand cannons. I didn't like hand cannons at first. I thought, it's just a slower firing sidearm. But no, I've found some that I've liked, and some of that was from gunsmith bounties, and some of it now I guess could come from a Pathfinder objective if I needed to do that. And it's as easy as just finding something that's in your vault or something you pull from collections and try it out. In the worst case, you've spent 15 minutes in a strike using a weapon that you don't like, and you can, dismantle it at the end, and, hey, you get a little bit of experience out of it. But, it might be a way for you to grow as a player and try out some new things. So don't write that off, I guess would be my main point. Because it can be a good catalyst to really get you into other play styles.
And what's your number 7?
Tip number 7. So this is the Pale Heart Pathfinder. You talked about this a little bit earlier too. The Pale Heart, because it's a map-specific Pathfinder, it syncs with the map. And so you pointed out there's those little icons that show up on the map.
Mm-hmm.
And each one of those corresponds to a node that's on your current Pathfinder card.
Yes.
If you track those nodes in the Pathfinder, those diamonds will light up on the map too.
Yes, they will.
You can put a waypoint on them on the map. That's a way to get to them. But if you've already got them selected in your Pathfinder, then it will show up more brightly on the map and give you a good idea of where to go to finish those.
I believe it gives you a diamond
Another
too.
Tip on
it gives you like the diamond when you're trying to find the objective. I believe there'll be a diamond in midair
mm-hmm.
too, like if you had an objective tracked. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't looked very much into that yet, but that seems like a very helpful thing, because some of those, like you said, complete this, this ritual or whatever, and that'll be like a step in an overthrow chain that, it's not like a public event where you walk into it and there's a banner across the screen that says you've entered this, this activity. So that it's really helpful to use the Pathfinder in conjunction with the map. But then also I've used Match-Made Overthrow as a way to get really fast results in the Pathfinder.
Really?
In the Pale Heart.
Okay.
If you do an overthrow solo, you're running around from point to point, you're doing you get points for everything you do, but generally you get the most points from doing like the little mini game boss challenges. And when you're doing that solo, it's you going from point to point and doing it as fast as you can. But when there's 3 players in Match-Made Overthrow, it goes a lot faster.
Good point.
Now, I will caveat that a little bit. Since the new exotic class item came out, it seems like everybody I see in Match-Made Overthrow just hops on their Sparrow and starts zipping around the map trying to find all the treasure chests. Chest farming. Because it can drop from that. And so I haven't seen players as focused on completing the actual overthrow encounters. But, that may cool off a little bit once everybody's got the role that they want. But, like a solo overthrow, I think takes me around 5 minutes to do.
How many minutes you cut out?
That's with me just trying. With Match-Made Overthrow, it's like 20 to 30, maybe.
Okay.
So you're cutting your time almost in half.
Okay.
And, especially like the level 4 boss that tends to be pretty tanky, like those go a lot faster with 2 other players helping you out. The reason I would bring up Matchmade Overthrow specifically also is because the last 2 nodes on the Pale Heart Pathfinder, like I said earlier, are always some sort of overthrow. And you get credit for doing overthrow activities. You just get more if it's in that specific area. But if you're finishing them faster, you can complete both of the tier 5 nodes, even if it's not the area that it says to go to, like, the impasse or the some of the other areas there.
Okay.
So you can get progress that way. And yeah, just use that again, like you mentioned with stacking the Pale Heart objectives so that you can get as much out of it as you can. And yeah, go fill your vault up with different rolls of the Ergo Sum Sword.
Excellent. Those are 7 solid tips, Ronin. Thank you for that, man. I have 4 to add to that, because you've mentioned several that was already going to mention, but when it comes to the Pale Heart, because I haven't played the activity one yet, so I don't have any expertise there. But with the Pale Heart Pathfinder, when you're looking at all the nodes that are scattered all over the map, look for the ones that are bunched up the most. Like I just mentioned in my real world example here, the impasse has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 just in the impasse alone. And then you have your general ones, like kill stuff with energy weapons. I mean, that goes anywhere. So, and then the overthrow, like I said, that you can have the overthrow done anywhere as well. So you might as well be doing everything in one area. It tends to stack those nodes, especially if you have a path drawn out already. The second tip I would say is when you do complete a path and it says, okay, let's reset the node, or let's complete your final reward. Now that you've connected your all 5 paths, look around before you reset. There might be other nodes, top and bottom of your path, that you've already completed. That's 4,000 XP per node. If you've already completed them and you've connected them because you're cutting a path through the entire web, there's more than likely there's going to be some other nodes or objectives that you've completed just from playing on that map period. So always look to cash in all of the nodes regardless of the path you've gone before you hit that cash in on your final reward for completing the path. So that was my second tip. Third tip is combine your gunsmith bounties. I like my bounties. Your gunsmith bounties and your seasonal failsafe bounties, because that's the vendor this episode. This will apply to other episodes down the road. But like, for instance, I'll give you a for instance here. Calibrate arc weapons against any target. Well, if you go to, that's a gunsmith bounty. But if you go to the failsafe, it says defeat combatants with arc damage anywhere in the system. There's 2 bounties completed at the same time. And if you're using energy weapons in the impasse, you're completing a node and 2 other bounties right away. Defeat combatants with swords and glaives anywhere in the system. These are seasonal bounties. Defeat fallen anywhere in the system. And then usually they have one it pertains to the seasonal activity, so that obviously wouldn't apply. But your first 3 daily bounties on your failsafe, or your whatever the episodic vendor is for when you're playing this, usually the first 3 daily bounties are very general. And of course your gunsmith bounties usually tie in with those as well, like kill things with swords. Kill things with trace rifles. Okay, that one's not the same, but you can get an arc trace rifle. And it is an energy weapon. And my good old sidearm bounty. There you go. So keep in mind, and I pull all these from the Bungie app on my phone, and they automatically, if I have my account linked, automatically are put in my inventory, my bounty inventory. So you can sit here and collect these, just these 2 vendors by themselves, and cash these in. You're going to get rep towards your failsafe vendor reputation. You're going to get reputation to add and unlock rewards on that vendor track. And of course, Banshee 44 has all kind. He now has a vendor track for the last year now, and you can complete that as well. So so many different ways you can multitask here. And my final tip, and Ronan, you've had some really good ones, man, is always have a ghost equipped with the mod Blinding Light. It multiplies all of your XP gains, regardless of where they're coming from, by 12%. So keep that in mind. You'll get 12% on top of anything. So if you're getting 4,000 XP from completing a node on your Pathfinder, whether it's, your activity Pathfinder or your Paleheart Pathfinder, add another 12% to that. Well, that's half 1,000 at least. I don't know. I don't do math very well, but you get my point. Always have that blinding light mod on a ghost equipped whenever you're clicking nodes on your Pathfinder and resetting. That 25,000 times 12%, that's 20, what's that, around 3,000 more XP that you didn't have to do anything for. So being that I'm the bounty guy, just keep that in mind. That's always the way I've played. When I turn bounties in, I always make sure that ghost is equipped with that mod. And, that's all I had. Anything else, Ronan, that I'm missing here before we head out for the night?
No, I think that's a great tip. Yeah, I forgot about the ghost mods, and also just to add on to that, they did reduce the power cost on those, right?
Yes, they did.
Or the number of
that's very cheap.
Slots that they. Yeah, so you can equip that, and then I think the other one that I run is the Wombo detector.
Yep, that's what I run too.
Because especially for Paleheart, you're getting credit for finding chests, collectibles,
material nodes,
material nodes. So those show up at a greater distance when you have the detector on, and so it makes it real easy to just hop over, collect it, move on, and and since they add overthrow points as well, it's like that's giving you a lot of benefit for just having something tacked on your ghost. I don't think I've taken it off my ghost in multiple seasons.
I bounce it around when I'm playing Crucible. I usually have for every win I could get possibly a more prismatic Ingram or more enhancement prisms and stuff with wins and stuff. I usually switch up a little bit, but I always try to keep the highest XP mod on that I can feasibly fit on there. But yes, masterworking a ghost is much cheaper now than it used to be. So as far as the slots that's required to unlock a lot, like the Wombo detector used to take 4 slots on your ghost, now it only takes 2. So yeah, very, very easy to use that as well. Definitely. Man, thank you, Ronan. You had some really good info tonight, man. I really appreciate you doing some research on this and helping me out with this discussion tonight because like I said, I haven't even tried the activity node yet. I've been so busy in the Paleheart. So thank you for that, man.
You're very welcome.
Well, I have one question for you still, and I always ask this anytime someone hops on the Destiny Help Desk podcast with me. Destiny came out with this little VOD and mentioned this little keyword called Frontiers for 2025. What do you think that's about?
Just going from my gut feeling, it sounds like unexplored area, which would mean, I think, outside our solar system at this point. So maybe they're looking at, I don't know, something completely new. I mean, and within Destiny, of course. Sure. But maybe new planets, new enemy types. Something we haven't seen.
Yeah, I share that sentiment.
I'm looking forward to finding out what that is.
I've talked to several guests about it, and we think it's a play up to the next Destiny game. And we think it's going to be more episodes. I think this will be the last major expansion we get for Destiny 2. I think the next major expansion we get will be a brand new Destiny game. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But that's what we're hoping for. So, what do you think about this episodic system? You like it? You hate it? Is it about the same as seasons? What's your take so far on the 4 weeks we played it?
So it's pretty much the same as seasons, but extended out a little bit with a little bit more breathing room. I've seen people make comments about it, and I kind of feel the same way that the seasonal activity, it's par for the course. It's what we've had in most of the seasons previous. It's just, now there's the episode is broken up into acts, which, it feels kind of time gated, but at the same time, our seasons have all been time gated 1 week at a time, for going back, I don't know how far. So, I think it's par for the course, just with a little bit longer timetable. And I think that's totally fine. Like I said earlier, I've had some of my most fun in seasons where I'm not trying to keep up with everything week to week. If I have an extra week to just spend time being a Sherpa or, running a raid with my friends that, isn't part of the progress of that season. I don't feel like I've, spent that time doing something that means I'm going to have to like play catch up later.
Right.
So, you can get your power level higher. I don't, I play quite a bit, but I wouldn't say I'm like a hardcore player by any means time wise. And so for me to get up to like the level where I can tackle a grandmaster or maybe a higher level raid challenges, that's just going to take me longer because I don't have the time to dedicate to getting my power level up that high. And so longer seasons give me time at the end of the season to do that. So yeah, I like it on a time basis. And, the content wise, yeah, it feels like what I would expect from a Destiny season. So I really don't have any complaints there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Ronin, again for hopping on the Destiny Help Desk podcast tonight. You've been a really great help, man. I really appreciate it. And, thanks for bringing it to my attention that you wanted to talk about this because, I think there's a lot of people who play more casually that maybe don't realize how beneficial this system really is and how much easier and approachable it is versus going to each vendor and grabbing bounties, So, thank you again, man. I really appreciate it. Hey, how can people reach you on the interwebs out there if you're so inclined?
Oh, you can find me on Discord at Ronin_Red_Lion. Usually in the Owl Sector Discords, I'm in all of them. So yeah, look me up, send me a message, and look forward to seeing everybody out there.
Excellent. Thank you, man. So wrapping up, what did we learn today? Hopefully Ronin and I have explained, number one, what the new Pathfinder system is exactly. Number two, what types of activities and missions you can expect to find in them. 3, what rewards you can expect from completions. Number 4, our experiences playing each type. And number 5, tips and tricks to complete them more effectively. But there's one more thing I wanted to talk about before we go. I took a poll from our Discord community, and if you don't listen to my other podcast, Guardian Downcast, I have a dual Discord community for both podcasts, and you can find it by going to discord.gg/Guardian Downcast if you'd like to join up. But we ask in 1 or 2 sentences, what do you think of the overall ritual and Paleheart Pathfinders? And this is what some of them had to say. Our community member Dimwee said the Paleheart Pathfinder is really cool because it works in the raid. The Ritual Pathfinder is really bad because it's too long. Bright Dust farming is dead. One of our patrons, Deadpool1Merc, said it is interesting, however, not a fan of the Ritual one. Do enjoy the Paleheart Pathfinder, though. Our member Steel Zealot said, I was going to say the Paleheart Pathfinder has variety for completion, but the Ritual one seems forced to specific outlets and is grindy. Zombie Pops, one of our other patrons, said the destination one for the Paleheart is really great, but the ritual one needs more work. Definitely think they should incorporate it with other planets. Tahoe Trade said each ritual should have its own. Paleheart is a massive win, overall a positive change. One of our rotating co-hosts, Kingsley Mack, said Pathfinder mechanics are good and way better than bounty mechanics. Actual things to do for the Paleheart one is good. The actual things to do for the ritual one are horrible. Mr. Monkey, one of our mods in our Discord, said Ritual ones are the worst bounties that each vendor had. Will be good with a few tweaks. The Pale Heart one is great. Panda said the Pale Heart one is great, but the Ritual one needs to be tweaked badly. Basic concept, though, is great. Another one of our mods, Chubby Wizard 2.0, said the Ritual Pathfinder reminds me of the bad old days. Bungie not letting us play the game the way we want. One of our other patrons, McMaximo, stated, I ignored Crucible bounties in the past, but now I find myself doing less desirable bounties to, quote, route around Crucible. The original Jimmy Raynor says, as I already said, make the goals more streamlined. 3,000 kills or 50 Guardian kills, 20 activity completions, earn 50,000 Glimmer, open 50 Engrams, 150 major enemies, 2,000 precision kills. Reward that with 150 Bright Dust, 1 Pinnacle, and 25,000 XP. Make it truly passive so that anything earns progress. The Ritual one just forces you to quit your Nightfall farming, lose 1 stack of rep buff just to finish the Pathfinder. Well, here's what I had to say about it. Since we recorded this episode, I went and tried the Ritual Pathfinder myself. I played several nights of Iron Banner with some of my friends from the community, and here's what I encountered. First, there is no easy path to the end reward without being blocked by some other activity node that needed to be completed to continue my path forward. Granted, there were general activity nodes like defeat enemies with void damage and any ritual activity, but they were usually in a place where I was still getting held up. I was literally being blocked by Bungie from finishing my path playing Iron Banner and instead had to go to either Gambit or Vanguard playlist. So what I ended up doing is I went into a Vanguard playlist, I started playing the strike, and when the nodes were completed, I just bailed and activated the now open pathway. Bungie needs to create a sure path playing one of the ritual activities through to completion. I could do this with the old bounty system in the past, but with this new Pathfinder system, I was forced to jump into an activity that I did not want to play. It really is worse if you look at the overall reward versus the old bounty system. I see a lot of players just ignoring this Pathfinder system for ritual activities. The second thing I did not like is the nodes were some of the worst bounties that I would normally just erase and try to get a better one in the past system. Get 5 grenade kills while playing Crucible, that's usually an instant delete if it was a bounty, but now it's blocking the way for me to move to my next node. Many times, I would unlock the last 2 nodes and would have to figure out how to work around this dumb grenade node to get the last 2 nodes that seem to be more general missions like defeating enemies with precision final blows. I believe we need more general nodes like these all over the Pathfinder web. Get kills with blinding grenades? Really? As a warlock, I don't even have that ability to blind enemies, and I'm sure as hell not going to spend any time finding a build that does do that, just to complete one node. I would just move around the node and carry on, albeit taking much more time and frustration to complete more nodes to offset it. The third thing I didn't like. We can't really farm Bright Dust as effectively as we did with the beatable bounties. I know I did say earlier in the show that it seemed like it was a better way to get Bright Dust, but once I started playing the Ritual Pathfinder, it does reward Bright Dust, more rewards at one time when you do a completion. But if you look at the overall equation, it seems like we're earning less Bright Dust from all sources. That continues to grind my gears as a game system problem to motivate players to engage in the game more often and even stick around more in each play session to farm Bright Dust. The problem of having 2 restrictive bounties in the Ritual playlist from past seasons has not been addressed here. And if anything, the Ritual Pathfinder has made it worse and less motivating. Now things I did enjoy was the fact that we could complete many of the Pathfinders and still have generous rewards, but man, it seemed like a lot more work to get those rewards. I would actually not be opposed to a Pathfinder for each ritual game type. One for Crucible, Gambit, and Vanguard. You eliminate the need to visit the vendor to get more bounties, which is a huge plus within this new system. But if you're doing the same old dumb bounties, then I feel it negates the quality of life improvement. But that's my opinion. But I want to hear what you think about this new system. So head to the Destiny Help Desk feedback channel in our Discord or shoot me an email at toddthegator@gmail.com. Well, I wanted to thank you for sticking it out as this is a bit longer of an episode, but hopefully you now will be motivated to try this new system that Bungie put together. Well, at least the Pale Heart one. I'm Todd the Gator. You can reach me in my Discord community at discord.gg/GuardianDownCast and shoot me a DM if you have any questions. You can email me as well at toddthegator@gmail.com. Remember, that's 2 D's and GATR. Or send me a voicemail, speakpipe.com/Destiny Help Desk. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. And be good to your fellow Guardians in the Destinyverse. And later, Guardian. Hunter's Masterclass, really?